My name is Emily Carter. I'm 27. On the 18th of June 2024, during my sister Lauren's wedding reception at the Marriott Marquis in Chicago, my phone buzzed while my parents were joking about my tiny apartment. The message was from a probate attorney, and it said my grandmother left me $2,640,000, but warned my family would try to take it. The champagne flute in my hand felt slippery, cold. My silver iPhone vibrated against the glass with a sound nobody else seemed to hear over the string quartet playing something elegant and forgettable. I read the text 3 times before my brain could process the numbers. Attorney Daniel Hargrove, Lakeshore Probate Law, estate value $2,640,000. My grandmother Margaret Whitmore. Mom leaned toward Dad and whispered just loud enough for me to hear. Imagine being 27 and still renting. Dad chuckled. At least Lauren married someone successful. I set the champagne down. My hand was shaking. The ballroom smelled like roses and expensive perfume, and suddenly I couldn't breathe in it anymore. I stood up from table 14, the one they'd assigned me to with cousins I barely knew, and walked toward the gilded double doors at the back. Lauren looked radiant at the head table in her Vera Wang gown. She didn't notice me leave. Nobody did. That was the point, wasn't it? I'd always been the invisible daughter, the one who chose teaching over law school. The one who lived in a 600-square-foot studio in Pilsen instead of a condo in River North, the disappointment. Outside the ballroom, the hallway was empty and quiet. My heels clicked against marble floors that probably cost more per square foot than my monthly rent. I pulled up the message again. Read it slower this time. There were instructions. Call immediately. Do not discuss with family members until consultation complete. I dialed. My fingers felt numb. Emily Carter? The voice was professional. Measured. Male. Yes. This is Daniel Hargrove. I represent the estate of Margaret Whitmore, who passed on the 3rd of April 2024. I'm calling regarding her last will and testament. The text said, $2,640,000. That's correct. He paused. Your grandmother was very specific about the terms of this inheritance. She anticipated certain reactions from your family. I leaned against the wall. The wallpaper had tiny gold fleur-de-lis that blurred when I tried to focus. What kind of reactions? The kind happening right now. His tone shifted, became almost gentle. She predicted they'd belittle you tonight. She wrote it in a letter dated the 9th of February 2024, sealed with her will. She said, and I quote, "They'll gather for Lauren's wedding and make Emily feel small, because that's what they do when they're together, and she's succeeding quietly where they can't see it." My throat closed. I tasted salt. Tears I didn't remember crying. Your grandmother opened an investment account with Fidelity in your name on the 22nd of September 2019. She added to it monthly. Never told anyone. The account contains $1,890,000 in stocks and bonds. There's also a savings account at Chase Bank on North Michigan Avenue with $1,890,000 in stocks and bonds. There. Sal saw a savings account at Chase Bank on North Michigan Avenue with $750,000 cash, established the 15th of January 2021. Why didn't she tell me? She wanted you to build your own life first, without their influence, without their opinions about what success looks like. Papers rustled on his end. She also purchased a 2-bedroom condo in Lincoln Park on the 8th of December 2022. Paid in full, $485,000. The deed is in your name. Has been for 18 months. I slid down the wall until I was sitting on the floor. My bridesmaid dress pooled around me like water, pale blue. Lauren had chosen it, said it would complement her color scheme better than the emerald I'd suggested. I don't understand. Your grandmother understood something your parents don't. She saw you. He let that sit. But there's a condition. Of course there was. You cannot tell your family about this inheritance for 90 days. If you do, the entire estate transfers to the Chicago Public Education Fund. She was very clear. She said you'd need time to process what this means before they started circling. Through the ballroom doors, I could hear laughter. The DJ announced the father-daughter dance. Dad loved this moment. He'd practiced his speech for weeks about how proud he was of Lauren, how she'd always been destined for greatness. There's more. Daniel's voice pulled me back. Your grandmother kept records. Every family dinner, every holiday, every time they compared you to your sister. She documented it in a journal. Black leather, water-stained spine. She left it for you with a note that says, "So you know it wasn't in your head." I couldn't speak. The journal is at my office on West Monroe Street. You can pick it up Monday morning at 9:30 a.m., along with all the account information and property deed. Monday. She also left you a letter. Personal. I haven't read it, but she told me what it says. She apologized for not defending you more when she was alive. She said she was a coward, but she wanted you to have proof that someone saw your worth, even if she didn't say it out loud enough. My phone felt heavy. The hallway was spinning. Miss Carter, are you all right? They're in there celebrating. I know. They have no idea. That's intentional. He cleared his throat. Your grandmother's final instruction was specific, she said. Let Emily sit with this knowledge through dessert. Let her watch them perform their roles. Let her understand that she's free now. I stood up, smoothed my dress, checked my reflection in a decorative mirror hanging between two paintings of horses. My mascara had run slightly. I fixed it with my thumb. Mr. Hargrove? Yes? The 90 days. What am I supposed to do? Whatever you want. That's the point. He paused. She suggested you might start by finding an apartment you actually love instead of one you can barely afford. She thought you might travel. Take that summer off you've been postponing. Stop shrinking yourself to fit their expectations. I walked back toward the ballroom, stopped at the doors. Your grandmother expected tonight to happen. His voice was quiet now, almost sad, and she prepared proof. Inside, the father-daughter dance ended. Everyone applauded. Lauren hugged Dad like he'd just handed her the world. Mom dabbed her eyes with a napkin, performing maternal pride for the photographers. I sat back down at table 14. My cousin Mark was talking about his promotion at Goldman Sachs. His wife nodded along, bored. The champagne in my glass was warm now, flat. I picked it up anyway. My phone buzzed again. One more text from Daniel Hargrove. She loved you fiercely. She just didn't know how to show it in a way they'd let her. Now they can't stop her. Lauren cut the cake, threw the bouquet. My mother caught it, and everyone laughed. She handed it to me with a pitying smile. Maybe next time, sweetheart. I took it, smiled back. Maybe, I said. But I was thinking about Monday morning, about a black leather journal with water stains, about a grandmother who'd counted every slight, every dismissal, every casual cruelty, who'd turned her silence into something louder than any argument she could have won at a dinner table. I was thinking about freedom, and what it costs, and who pays the price. The DJ played another song. People danced. My parents posed for photos with Lauren and her new husband, whose name was Trevor, and whose father owned 3 car dealerships in Schaumburg. And I sat there, holding wilted flowers, carrying a secret worth $2,640,000, knowing that sometimes the people who love you most protect you in ways you can't see until they're gone. The morning after the wedding, I walked into Chase Bank on 120 South Michigan Avenue, under gray skies that looked like they might split open any second. The envelope in my hand was stamped Whitmore Estate-Confidential in faded red ink. My fingers had left damp prints on the paper during the 20-minute walk from my apartment. The lobby smelled like filtered air and quiet money, polished floors, soft lighting. A security guard by the door nodded without really seeing me. I approached the counter, where a nameplate read Angela Ruiz, Senior Banking Officer. I have an appointment, I said. Emily Carter, 9:30. She looked up, mid-40s, kind eyes, hair pulled back in a bun so tight it looked painful. Miss Carter, yes. Your attorney called yesterday to confirm. She gestured toward a private office behind frosted glass. This way, please. Inside, the air felt colder. Angela closed the door and sat across from me at a small desk. She opened a folder, scanned something, then looked at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Your grandmother came here every first Tuesday of the month. I blinked. For how long? She paused. Too long. Since 2018. 6 years. My grandmother had been making monthly trips to this bank for 6 years, and nobody in the family knew. Or maybe somebody did. Angela pulled out a form. Estate reference number WC 44981. We've been holding safety deposit box 317B under instructions from Margaret Whitmore. Access granted only to you upon presentation of proper identification. And this. She slid a small brass key across the desk. It had faded green tape wrapped around the bow. I picked it up. It was warm, like someone had just been holding it. Who gave you this? Your grandmother. In February. Angela's voice softened. She came in on the 6th of February 2024 and updated her final instructions. She seemed determined. She said you'd come alone and you'd know what to do. February 6th, 2 months before she died on April 3, 2 months before everything fell apart. Angela led me down a hallway to a vault room that smelled like metal and old paper. She used her key, and I used mine. Box 317B slid out smooth and heavy. She carried it to a private viewing room and left me alone. I lifted the lid. Inside, A flash drive, black, small, generic. Next to it, a stack of handwritten notes on yellow legal paper, the kind my grandmother used for grocery lists. Beneath that, property documents bound with a rusted paperclip, and at the bottom, a photograph. Me at 7 years old, gap-toothed, holding a trophy from a spelling bee my parents didn't attend because Lauren had a piano recital the same day. I picked up the legal papers first. Property deed. Recorded the 18th of October 2019. Cook County Recorder's Office. A house. Not the condo Daniel Hargrove mentioned on the phone yesterday. A different property. 4,427 North Kenmore Avenue in Uptown. Purchase price $615,000. Paid in full. I didn't own one condo. I owned 2 properties. My hands started shaking. I set the deed down and picked up the yellow notes. My grandmother's handwriting. Spidery. Precise. The first page was dated the 11th of March 2021. It said, David called today asking about my will. Wanted to know if I'd considered Lauren's future children. Said Emily doesn't understand family legacy the way Lauren does. I told him I'd think about it. I won't. I turned the page. The 30th of August, 2021. Carol suggested I move into assisted living. Said Emily's too busy with work to help me. I'm not sick. I'm 74, and I run 3 miles every morning. They want control. The 15th of September, 2021. David asked if I needed help managing my investments. I said no. He looked angry. Page after page. 3 years of my parents circling, asking, suggesting, pushing, and my grandmother writing it all down like evidence for a trial that hadn't happened yet. The last entry was dated the 29th of March 2024, 5 days before she died. It said, they don't ask about Emily anymore. They've written her off. Good. That means she's safe from them. When she reads this, I hope she understands. I stayed quiet to protect what was hers. I couldn't breathe. The room felt too small. I picked up the flash drive and that's when I saw it. A label, white, printed in my grandmother's shaky hand. Play only if David and Carol betray you. I stared at those words until they stopped making sense. Then they made too much sense. My parents, David and Carol, my grandmother had expected them to betray me, had prepared for it, had recorded something. I pulled out my laptop, hands shaking so hard I almost dropped the flash drive twice. I plugged it in. 1 folder, 1 video file. Dated the 6th of February 2024. The same day, Angela said my grandmother updated her instructions. I clicked play. My grandmother's face filled the screen. She was sitting in what looked like a lawyer's office. Professional lighting. A microphone clipped to her collar. She looked tired but sharp, focused. Emily, she said, her voice cracked. If you're watching this, it means they did what I thought they'd do. It means they tried to take what's yours. I pressed pause, stood up, sat back down, pressed play. Your parents came to see me on the 8th of January 2024. They brought paperwork, a conservatorship petition. They wanted me declared mentally incompetent so they could manage my estate. They said I was forgetting things, confused. They had a doctor's signature. Dr. Richard Brennan from Northwestern Memorial. She held up a document. I could see the letterhead even through the screen. I had my own evaluation done 2 weeks later at University of Chicago Medical Center. Dr. Lisa Kowalski. Cognitive function normal. Memory intact. I'm not sick, Emily. I'm old. There's a difference. My grandmother set the papers down and looked directly into the camera. Your parents didn't want to help me. They wanted my money. And when they couldn't get it through me, they were going to get it through you. They were going to contest my will. Claim I wasn't of sound mind when I wrote it. I'm recording this to make sure you have proof. She paused, took a breath. I'm leaving you everything. The accounts, the properties, all of it. She looked down at her hands. And there's something they don't know about. Something I never told anyone. She smiled, sad and fierce. I have a third account, at First Commonwealth Bank in Denver. Your grandfather and I opened it in 1987 when we lived in Colorado. I never closed it. It has $890,000. It's in your name as of the 12th of November 2023. $3.5 million. 3 properties. And my parents had tried to have her declared incompetent so they could take it. My grandmother leaned forward. You're going to want to forgive them. That's who you are. Kind. Too kind sometimes. But Emily, listen to me. People who love you don't calculate your value in spreadsheets. They don't measure your worth in property deeds. You've spent 27 years trying to earn their approval. You don't need it. You never did. The video ended. The screen went black. I sat there staring at my own reflection in the dark monitor. I thought about last night. The wedding. Mom's whispered comment about my apartment. Dad's laugh. The way they'd seated me at table 14 with cousins who barely knew my name. The way Lauren had chosen a bridesmaid dress that washed me out because it complemented her color scheme. I thought about my grandmother, 74 years old, running 3 miles every morning, writing down every slight, every manipulation, protecting me in the only way she knew how, in silence, in secrets, in money I never asked for but apparently desperately needed. I gathered everything, the flash drive, the notes, the property deeds, the photograph of 7-year-old me holding a spelling bee trophy. I put it all back in the box except for one thing, the photo. I kept that. Angela was waiting when I came out. Did you find what you needed? I found what she wanted me to find. She nodded like she understood. Maybe she did. Your grandmother was a smart woman. She was a quiet woman. Sometimes that's the same thing. I walked out into the June morning. It had started raining. Not hard, just enough to blur the skyline and make the sidewalks smell like wet concrete. I stood there on Michigan Avenue with my phone in my hand. I could call my parents, tell them I knew, tell them what grandmother left me, tell them about the video, and the conservatorship, and Dr. Brennan's convenient diagnosis. Or, I could wait. 90 days, like Daniel Hargrove said. Let them wonder. Let them plan. Let them show me exactly who they were when they thought nobody was watching. I chose silence, like my grandmother taught me, not the silence of fear, the silence of strategy, of knowing something they didn't, of holding power so quietly they'd never hear it coming. I put my phone away and walked home in the rain. In my pocket, a photograph of a 7-year-old girl who won a spelling bee nobody came to see. In my future, a life built on a foundation my grandmother laid brick by brick while my parents were busy calculating her worth. Sometimes love is loud, and sometimes it's a safety deposit box you don't know exists until the day you need it most. Emily sits in her Logan Square apartment at 11:42 p.m., plugging the flash drive into her Dell laptop, the fan humming in the quiet room. Outside, rain taps against the windows overlooking North Kedzie Boulevard. The screen glows blue. One file. One chance to understand what her grandmother couldn't say out loud. She clicks play. The video opens on her grandmother, sitting in what looks like a home office. Navy cardigan, gray hair pinned back. Behind her, a Seiko wall clock ticks audibly. The timestamp reads the 3rd of April 2022, 2 years before she died. Emily, sweetheart. Her grandmother's voice was calm, practiced, like she'd rehearsed this. If you're watching this, it means your parents still believe you don't know what they did. Emily's hands go still on the keyboard. The apartment feels too quiet, too small. Her grandmother adjusts the camera slightly. I'm making this recording because there are things I should have told you in person but didn't have the courage to say. I was afraid of breaking our family apart. Now I realize it was already broken. I just didn't want to see it. She pulls out a piece of paper. Emily recognizes it immediately. A Wells Fargo brokerage statement. Her grandmother holds it close to the camera. This is an investment account I opened for you on the 14th of September 2015. I deposited $420,000 from the sale of my house in Evanston. I told your parents about it at Thanksgiving dinner that year. I said it was for your future, your education, your security. Emily leans closer to the screen. She was 18 in 2015, a freshman at DePaul University. She'd never heard about this account. Her grandmother sets the paper down. Your father called me 3 days later, the 30th of November 2015. He said you didn't need that kind of money. He said it would make you lazy, entitled. He asked me to reconsider. The clock ticks behind her. 5 seconds. 10. I told him no. It was my money, my choice. He hung up on me. Her grandmother's expression hardens. Your mother called the next morning, December 1. She was crying. She said Lauren was getting married soon, that they needed help with the wedding. She said $420,000 could change Lauren's life. I asked her what it could do for yours. She didn't answer. Emily feels her jaw tighten. The room is spinning slightly. She pauses the video, stands up, sits back down, presses play. They came to my house on the 18th of December 2015, both of them. They brought a financial advisor, Thomas Kellerman from Merrill Lynch in Naperville. He had paperwork, a plan. They wanted me to transfer the account into a family trust. They said it would protect everyone, benefit everyone. Her grandmother looks directly into the camera. But the trust document had Lauren listed as primary beneficiary. You were listed as secondary, contingent. Thomas explained it meant you'd only receive funds if Lauren declined them first. I read it 3 times to make sure I understood. Then I told them to leave. Emily's heart is pounding so hard she can hear it. She thinks about every family dinner, every holiday, Every time her parents asked her grandmother about her finances, every time they suggested she needed help managing her assets, her grandmother continues. They didn't speak to me for 7 months. Your father finally called on the 22nd of July 2016. He said they were worried about me, that I was getting older, making irrational decisions. He used the word irrational 4 times in one conversation. The bitterness in her grandmother's voice is subtle but unmistakable. I kept the account. I never told you because I didn't want them to pressure you the way they pressured me. I added money every year. By 2019, it had grown to $680,000. I moved it to Fidelity and put your name on it as sole beneficiary. I didn't tell anyone. Emily stops the video again. She walks to the kitchen, pours water from the tap, doesn't drink it, walks back. The laptop screen has gone dark. She taps the trackpad. Her grandmother's face reappears, frozen mid-sentence. She presses play. On the 5th of March 2020, your parents came to see me again. They brought Lauren. She'd just had her first baby, Emma, beautiful little girl. They said I should think about my legacy, about what kind of grandmother I wanted to be. Your mother said Emma deserved a secure future. I agreed. I asked if you deserved one too. Lauren started crying. She said you'd always been the favorite, that I never loved her the way I loved you. Her grandmother's voice cracks. She takes a breath, steadies herself. I told them the truth. I said I loved them both equally, but I protected you differently because you needed it more. Lauren had them. Their approval, their attention, their pride. You had a studio apartment in Pilsen and a teaching job that paid $38,000 a year. I asked them who needed protecting. They left without answering. The Seiko clock ticks. Her grandmother looks tired now, older than she did at the start of the video. 6 months later, they tried something different. Your father sent me an email on the 9th of September 2020. He said he'd been talking to an estate attorney, Gregory Vance from Schaumburg. He said I needed to think about tax implications, about how much the IRS would take if I wasn't careful. He offered to set up a meeting. Emily feels cold. The apartment's heat is on, but she's shivering. I didn't go to the meeting. Instead, I hired my own attorney, Daniel Hargrove. You've met him by now. He reviewed all my accounts and helped me create an ironclad will. Everything goes to you, nothing to them. Not because I don't love them, because I don't trust them. Her grandmother leans forward. Her face fills the screen. Emily, listen carefully. Your parents have spent 8 years trying to convince me you're not responsible enough to inherit what I've built. 8 years of phone calls and visits and suggestions and concerns. But here's what they don't know. Every time they came to me with another reason to exclude you, I added more to your accounts. Every manipulation made me more determined. By the time you watch this, you'll have discovered what I left you. But there's something else. She reaches off camera and pulls out a manila folder, brown, worn at the edges. This folder contains copies of every email your father sent me, every text from your mother, every voicemail from Lauren. I saved them all, dated, documented, proof of what they said when they thought I'd forget or forgive or die before it mattered. She sets the folder on the desk in front of her, pats it once. Daniel has the original. You're getting a copy, because when they contest my will, and they will contest it, you'll need evidence. You'll need to show a judge that their concern for my mental competence is recent and convenient. That for 8 years, they were perfectly happy with my decisions, as long as those decisions benefited them. Her grandmother sits back. The clock ticks. 17 seconds pass before she speaks again. There's a second document they never expected you to see. It's a recording from the 18th of December 2015, the day they came to my house with Thomas Kellerman and the trust paperwork. I recorded the whole conversation on my iPhone. 2 hours and 14 minutes. I've never listened to it. I couldn't. But you should. It's on this drive. The file is labeled Family Meeting 2015. You'll hear exactly who they are when they think nobody's keeping score. The video ends. The screen goes black. Emily sits in the dark apartment, the laptop fan still humming, rain still falling outside. She scrolls through the flash drive. There it is. Family Meeting 2015. Audio file. 2 hours, 14 minutes, 17 seconds. She looks at the time. 12:03 a.m. She has work tomorrow. 4th grade. Fractions and spelling tests. And a parent-teacher conference at 3:30. She clicks play anyway. Her father's voice fills the room. Mom, we're not asking you to choose between your granddaughters. We're asking you to be realistic about which one can actually handle this kind of responsibility. Emily closes her eyes. Lets it wash over her. Every word, every tone, every assumption about who she was and what she deserved. 2 hours later, when the recording ends, She sits in the silence and understands something fundamental. Her grandmother didn't just leave her money. She left her proof, evidence. A paper trail of love that looked like accounting but was actually protection. She opens a new folder on her laptop, labels it evidence, drags every file from the flash drive into it, backs it up to 3 different clouds, emails a copy to herself, to Daniel Hargrove, to an account she creates just for this purpose. Then she gets ready for bed, sets her alarm, lays in the dark thinking about her parents sitting at Lauren's wedding reception, whispering about her tiny apartment, believing she'd never know what they'd tried to take, believing her grandmother had been too weak or too senile, or too loving to fight back. They were wrong about all 3. On the 2nd of July 2024, Emily walks through the marble lobby of the Cook County Probate Court, gripping a manila folder thick with documents. Her sneakers squeak against the polished floor. The air smells like old paper and floor wax. She's never been inside a courthouse before. She feels small here, temporary. Rebecca Lynn's office is on the 3rd floor, room 314. The door is already open when she arrives. The woman behind the desk looks younger than Emily expected, early 40s maybe. Sharp blazer, reading glasses hanging from a silver chain around her neck. "Miss Carter." She doesn't smile. "Come in. Close the door." Emily sits. The chair is uncomfortable. Intentionally so, she thinks. Rebecca Lynn opens a file. Case number PR 202411873, estate of Margaret Ann Whitmore. The blue court seal stamped across the top looks official and final. "Your attorney, Daniel Hargrove, sent me these documents on June 25. She taps the folder. "I've spent the last week reviewing them. I need to ask you some questions before we proceed." "Okay. Did your grandmother ever mention granting power of attorney to anyone?" "No." Rebecca Lynn nods. Writes something down. "Did she ever discuss feeling pressured to sign legal documents?" Emily thinks about the recordings, the notes, the 8 years of manipulation documented in yellow ink. "She never discussed it with me, but she documented it, everything." "Good." Rebecca slides a piece of paper across the desk. It's a photocopy, faded. This is a power of attorney document filed with the circuit court clerk on the 17th of August 2021. It grants David Carter and Carol Carter joint authority over Margaret Whitmore's financial and medical decisions. "Do you recognize these signatures?" Emily looks. Her father's name, her mother's, and at the bottom, a shaky signature that's supposed to be her grandmother's. But it doesn't look right. The M in Margaret is wrong. Too loopy. Her grandmother had sharp handwriting. Precisi. That's not her signature. Rebecca Lynn leans back. "Are you certain?" "Yes." Emily pulls out her phone, opens her photos, scrolls back to last Christmas, a card her grandmother sent. She zooms in on the signature, shows Rebecca. "Look at the M. She always wrote it like that. 2 sharp peaks. This one is rounded." Rebecca takes the phone, studies it, hands it back. "I thought the same thing. I sent the document to a forensic handwriting analyst, Patricia Drummond, in Evanston. She confirmed it. The signature is inconsistent with 12 other verified samples from your grandmother. Someone else signed this." The room tilts. Emily grips the edge of the desk. "My parents forged her signature? I can't prove that yet, but someone did, and your parents are the ones who benefited from it." Rebecca pulls out another document. "They used this power of attorney to access her checking account at Bank of America on the 3rd of September 2021. They withdrew $12,500. The bank has record of it." Emily feels cold. The air conditioning is too high. Or maybe she's just freezing from the inside out. What did they say the money was for? "Medical expenses. They told the bank manager, Stephen Rodriguez, that your grandmother needed home health care and didn't want to bother with the paperwork herself. He accepted the power of attorney as valid, released the funds." "Did she need home health care?" "No. According to her medical records from Northwestern Medicine, she was in perfect health. No prescriptions except a daily vitamin. No conditions requiring care." Emily stares at the paper, at her parents' names typed neatly at the top, at the forged signature at the bottom, at the date, the 17th of August 2021, 3 years ago, while she was teaching summer school and grading spelling tests and living in a studio apartment that cost $1,100 a month. Her parents were forging documents and stealing from her grandmother. Rebecca Lynn flipped through the paperwork slowly. "Your parents didn't just ask for money." Emily swallowed. "What did they do?" "They tried to gain control of the entire estate before your grandmother died." Rebecca pulls out a thick stack of papers, clipped together. "On the 9th of November 2023, they filed a petition with this court requesting guardianship over Margaret Whitmore. They claimed she was mentally incapacitated, unable to manage her finances, a danger to herself. She ran 3 miles every morning. I know. I have her medical records. But your parents had a doctor's statement. Dr. Richard Brennan from Northwestern Memorial. He evaluated her on the 14th of October 2023 and concluded she showed signs of moderate cognitive decline. Emily's hands ball into fists. She got a second opinion. Dr. Lisa Kowalski. She was fine. I have that evaluation too, dated the 28th of October 2023. Completely contradicts Dr. Brennan's findings. Rebecca taps the papers, which raises questions about Dr. Brennan's assessment. I've requested his full evaluation notes. He's been uncooperative. What does that mean? It means there may have been financial incentive for his diagnosis. Your parents paid him $2,800 for a single consultation. That's unusually high for a standard cognitive assessment. Emily stands up, sits back down. Her leg won't stop shaking. They paid him to lie? I can't prove that, yet, but I've referred the matter to the Illinois Department of Financial and Professional Regulation. They investigate medical fraud. If Dr. Brennan falsified his evaluation, he could lose his license. What happened with the guardianship petition? Rebecca smiles for the first time. It's small, grim. Your grandmother fought it. She hired Daniel Hargrove on the 15th of November 2023. He filed an opposition on November 20, included Dr. Kowalski's evaluation, requested a full competency hearing. When was the hearing? It was scheduled for the 11th of January 2024, but it never happened. Your parents withdrew their petition on the 3rd of January 2024. No explanation given. Emily knows why. Her grandmother had started making recordings, had documented everything, had built a case so airtight they couldn't risk going to court. Rebecca continues. But they didn't stop. On the 22nd of February 2024, 6 weeks before your grandmother died, they contacted an estate liquidation company, Heritage Asset Solutions in Oak Brook. They wanted an appraisal of all her property, furniture, jewelry, artwork. They told the appraiser, Monica Shaft, that they were preparing for an upcoming estate sale. She wasn't dead yet. No, she wasn't. Monica found that unusual enough to mention it in her notes. She called your grandmother directly to confirm the request. Your grandmother told her she had no intention of selling anything. Monica canceled the appraisal. Emily feels sick, dizzy. Her parents had been planning her grandmother's estate sale while she was still alive, still running, still fighting, still documenting their betrayal in careful detail. Rebecca Lynn slides one final page across the desk. This is why I asked you to come in person. Emily looks down. It's a legal document, stamped, notarized, dated the 15th of March 2024, 3 weeks before her grandmother died. What is this? It's an enforcement authority designation. Your grandmother filed it with the probate court specifically to prevent your parents from contesting her will. It names you as the only legal heir with enforcement authority. That means you have the power to pursue legal action against anyone who attempts fraud or undue influence regarding the estate. Emily reads it twice. Her name, Emily Marie Carter, Sole Enforcement Authority, effective immediately upon death of grantor. What does that mean in real terms? Rebecca leans forward. It means you can sue them for the forged power of attorney, for the stolen $12,500, for attempted elder financial abuse, for emotional distress, for everything. The room is quiet. Outside, she can hear footsteps in the hallway, voices, the normal sounds of people going about their normal lives. Her life stopped being normal on the 18th of June 2024 at a wedding reception where her parents made jokes about her apartment while a probate attorney's text message sat unread on her phone. Do you want to pursue legal action? Rebecca's voice is neutral, professional, but her eyes aren't. They're sharp, waiting. Emily thinks about her grandmother, about the recordings, about the yellow legal paper covered in spidery handwriting, about a woman who spent 8 years documenting betrayal because she knew someday it would matter. Yes, Rebecca nods. I'll file the complaint on July 8. You'll need to be prepared for what comes next. Your parents will deny everything. They'll claim your grandmother was confused, that you manipulated her, that the recordings are taken out of context. They'll make this ugly. It's already ugly. It will get uglier. Emily stands, picks up the folder. The filing fee receipt is still attached, $328. She paid it with a credit card that morning. Her hands had shaken when she signed. How long will this take? Civil litigation? Could be a year, maybe longer if they fight. But you have documentation, recordings, expert analysis. You have what most people in your position don't have. You have proof. Emily walks to the door, stops, turns back. My grandmother knew they'd do this. She prepared for it. For years. Why didn't she just cut them off earlier? Rebecca closes the file. Because she loved them. Even when they didn't deserve it. Even when they were trying to steal from her. She kept hoping they'd stop. That they'd choose her over the money. They never did. So she chose you. Emily leaves the courthouse at 4:47 p.m. The sun is still high. Hot. The summer air feels thick. She walks to the Blue Line station on Washington. Sits on a bench and watches 3 trains come and go before she can move. Her phone buzzes. A text from her mother. Family dinner Sunday? Lauren wants to see you. Emily deletes it, blocks the number, blocks her father's number, blocks Lauren's. Then she calls Daniel Hargrove. It's Emily. Rebecca Lynn showed me everything. I want to move forward. All of it. I want them held accountable. His voice is warm, proud almost. Your grandmother would be proud of you. My grandmother was proud of me already. That's why I'm here. She hangs up, catches the next train home, sits by the window watching Chicago blur past, thinking about a woman who ran 3 miles every morning until she couldn't anymore, who loved fiercely and quietly, who built a fortress of paperwork and recordings and dated evidence because she knew love sometimes looks like preparation for war. The train stops at Kedzie. Emily gets off, walks the 4 blocks to her apartment, unlocks the door, sets the folder on her kitchen table next to a photograph of a 7-year-old girl holding a spelling bee trophy. She doesn't feel victorious. She feels tired, but she feels clear. Sometimes justice is loud, and sometimes it's a stamped blue court seal on a document that says your worth was never up for debate. 2 weeks later, Emily walks into Giordano's Pizza on 730 North Rush Street, where her parents insisted on clearing the air. The restaurant smells like garlic and melted mozzarella. Too warm, too loud. Her parents are already seated at a corner booth. Lauren sits next to them, scrolling through her phone like this is just another family dinner. Emily slides into the booth across from them. The vinyl seat is cracked, sticky. She sets her purse down. Inside, a yellow legal notepad with handwritten calculations and a bank ledger showing a $310,500 transfer attempt dated the 2nd of October 2021. Thanks for coming, her mother says, smiling, always smiling. We've been worried about you. Have you? Her father clears his throat. We know Daniel Hargrove has been filling your head with ideas about your grandmother's will. About us. We wanted a chance to explain our side. Emily doesn't respond. She looks at Lauren. Her sister won't make eye contact, just keeps scrolling. Double chin catching the light from the fake Tiffany lamp hanging overhead. A waiter approaches. Young, tired looking. What can I get you folks? We'll need a few minutes, her father says. The waiter nods and disappears. Her father turns back to Emily. Your grandmother was not well toward the end. You know that. We were trying to protect her assets. Protect you. From what? From making decisions she'd regret later. From people who might take advantage. Emily almost laughs. People like you? Her mother's smile falters. That's unfair. Is it? Emily pulls the ledger from her purse, sets it on the table between the bread basket and the sweating water glasses. This is a Wells Fargo account statement from September 2021. Grandma's savings account. On October 2, someone attempted to transfer $310,500 to an external account. The request was flagged and denied because it required dual authorization and Grandma never approved it. Her father's face goes still. Careful. I don't know what you're talking about. The transfer request has your signature on it, and Mom's. You tried to move over $300,000 without her knowledge. Emily slides the paper closer. The bank manager, Vincent Torres, documented the whole thing, called Grandma directly. She told him she never authorized any transfer. He filed an internal fraud report on the 7th of October 2021. Silence. The restaurant noise feels distant, muffled. Lauren has stopped scrolling. Her phone sits face down on the table. Her mother recovers first. That was a misunderstanding. We were trying to help her consolidate accounts. For tax purposes. Tax purposes. Emily's voice is flat. She had an accountant, Gary Brenner from H&R Block in Wilmette. He'd been doing her taxes since 1987. He never recommended consolidating anything. Her father leans back. You're misunderstanding things. Emily slides the document across the table. Then explain why your signature appears on a transfer request from an account that wasn't yours. He doesn't touch the paper, doesn't look at it, just sits there with his hands folded on the table like he's waiting for her to finish so he can correct her, teach her, make her understand she's being unreasonable. We were trying to protect family assets, he says finally, from estate taxes, from probate complications. Your grandmother didn't understand the financial implications of. She understood perfectly. Emily pulls out the yellow notepad, her grandmother's handwriting, the calculations. She kept records. Every conversation, every suggestion you made. Every time you tried to convince her she was confused or forgetful or incapable, she wrote it all down. Her mother's eyes widen. Just slightly. Just enough. That's private. It's evidence. Emily flips to a page dated the 30th of November 2015, reads aloud. David called, said Emily doesn't need $420,000, said it would make her lazy, asked me to reconsider. I said no. He hung up. Her father's jaw tightens. That's out of context. Is it? Emily flips another page. The 1st of December 2015. Carol called crying, said Lauren's wedding needs help, asked if $420,000 could change Lauren's life. I asked what it could do for Emily's. She didn't answer. Lauren finally speaks, her voice small. That was almost 10 years ago. Emily looks at her sister, really looks, sees the designer handbag, the manicure, the wedding ring that cost more than Emily made in 6 months teaching. You knew, the whole time, you knew they were trying to take what Grandma left me. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? Lauren opens her mouth, closes it, looks at their parents, back to Emily. They said Grandma was being manipulated, that you were influencing her against the family. I saw her twice a year, Christmas and her birthday. You saw her every week. Exactly. Lauren's voice rises, gets defensive. We were there. We helped her. We took her to appointments and fixed things around her house and included her in our lives. What did you do? Emily feels the hit, the intended cruelty. She takes a breath, lets it settle. I respected her choices. I didn't treat her like an ATM. Her father stands. We don't have to sit here and be accused. Sit down. Something in Emily's voice makes him pause. She's never used that tone before. Never commanded. Never demanded. Always deferred. Always accommodated. Always made herself small enough to fit their expectations. Not anymore. Sit down. He sits. Emily pulls out the final document. The one Rebecca Lynn gave her on the 2nd of July 2024. Case file PR 2024111873. This is a formal complaint filed with Cook County Probate Court. It alleges elder financial abuse, attempted fraud, forgery. I'm suing you, both of you, for everything you tried to take, everything you tried to manipulate, everything you tried to steal. Her mother's face goes white, actually white, like the blood has drained straight out. You can't be serious. I have recordings. Grandma recorded you. The 6th of February 2024. 2 hours and 14 minutes of you explaining why I'm not responsible enough to handle an inheritance. Why I'm not successful enough. Why I'm not worth what she wanted to give me. The table is silent. Around them, other diners laugh, clink glasses, celebrate ordinary moments in ordinary lives. Here, at this booth with the cracked vinyl and too bright lamp, a family is fracturing in real time. Her father's voice is low, dangerous. If you do this, you're out. No more family, no more holidays, no more anything. Emily meets his eyes. I've been out since I was 7 years old and you missed my spelling bee because Lauren had a piano recital. I've been out since I was 18 and you told Grandma I didn't need college money because teaching wasn't a real career. I've been out every time you introduced me as your other daughter, your younger daughter, the one who rents. She stands, picks up her purse, the documents, the evidence of 8 years of careful, calculated cruelty disguised as concern. I'm not doing this to punish you. I'm doing it because Grandma spent the last years of her life documenting your betrayal, so I'd have proof when you tried to gaslight me. And you are trying, right now, in this restaurant, telling me I'm misunderstanding, that you are helping, that I'm being unreasonable. She looks at Lauren, her sister who caught the bouquet at her own wedding and handed it to Emily with pity. You should probably tell her about the house in Arizona. The words land like a grenade. Her parents freeze, actually freeze. Lauren's face crumples. What house? Emily's voice is steady, calm. She already knows. Rebecca Lynn told her, but she wants them to say it. Silence. What house, Lauren? Her sister's voice breaks. The one in Scottsdale. Grandma bought it in 1992, sold it in 2018 for $780,000. Put the money in a trust for you. Mom and Dad told me it was for both of us, that we'd split it when Grandma died. Emily nods, not surprised, not shocked, just confirmed. It was never for both of you. It was always for me. They lied to you too. She walks away, past the waiter who's hovering with menus, past the hostess stand, out into the July heat. Rush Street is crowded. Tourists and locals and people living lives uncomplicated by inheritance disputes and forged signatures and families who measure love in dollar amounts. She pulls out her phone, texts Daniel Hargrove. They admitted to the transfer attempt. Proceed with everything. He responds in 30 seconds. Already filed. Court date is August 14. Emily walks to the Red Line station, takes the train north, gets off at Fullerton, walks to her apartment, the studio in Logan Square that her parents joke about. That costs $1,100 a month and has exposed brick and a window that looks out over the neighborhood where real people live real lives. She makes tea, sits on her couch, the cheap one from IKEA that she assembled herself, opens her laptop, pulls up the recordings one more time. Her grandmother's voice. Calm, determined, loving. When they tell you you're wrong, remember I documented everything. When they tell you you're being cruel, remember what they tried to take. When they tell you family is supposed to forgive, remember that forgiveness without accountability is just permission to hurt you again. Emily closes the laptop, drinks her tea, thinks about a woman who ran 3 miles every morning and wrote down betrayals in yellow ink and loved her granddaughter enough to build a case that couldn't be denied or dismissed or explained away. Tomorrow she'll go to work, teach 4th graders, grade papers, live her small, unremarkable life that her parents find so disappointing. But tonight, she sits in her tiny apartment with proof that someone saw her worth when everyone else was calculating her value. And that's enough. Emily stands outside a stucco house on 2147 East Palm Lane in Phoenix. Desert wind rattling dry palm leaves overhead. The copper mailbox reads Whitmore Trust in faded lettering. She's never been to Arizona before. Never knew her grandmother owned property here. Never knew about the $815,000 purchase in 2020, or the irrevocable trust or any of it, until Daniel Hargrove handed her the deed on the 1st of August 2024. Carlos Mendez pulls up in a white Lexus. Mid-50s. Real estate broker. He's carrying a tablet and a ring of keys that jangle when he walks. Miss Carter? Yes. Beautiful property. Your grandmother had excellent taste. He unlocks the front door. Adobe archway. Tile floors. Everything smells like dust and citrus cleaner. It's been professionally maintained since she passed. Property management company comes twice a month. Emily steps inside. The living room has high ceilings, exposed beams, windows that look out over the Superstition Mountains. How long did she own this? Carlos glances at his tablet. Purchased the 12th of June 2020. Cash sale. No mortgage. He scrolls. This property isn't listed under your grandmother personally. Emily frowns. Then whose name? He turns the screen toward her. Whitmore Family Irrevocable Trust. Beneficiary. Emily Carter. Established the 9th of April 2020. 4 years. Her grandmother set this up 4 years ago and never mentioned it. Not at Christmas. Not at birthdays. Not in any of the letters or recordings or yellow legal pad notes. Just bought a house in the desert and put it in a trust only Emily could touch. What's an irrevocable trust? Emily already knows. Rebecca Lynn explained it, but she wants to hear it again. Make sure it's real. Means it can't be changed or dissolved without the beneficiary's consent. Once your grandmother established it, the property became legally yours. Even she couldn't take it back. And nobody else can contest it. Not family, not creditors, nobody. Emily walks through the house. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a kitchen with granite countertops and a refrigerator that hums quietly. In the master bedroom, there's a desk, oak, heavy, drawers that stick slightly when she pulls them open. Inside the bottom drawer, an envelope, thick, manila, sealed with red wax that's cracked in places. Her name written across the front in her grandmother's handwriting. And below it, open after the truth comes out. Her hands shake as she picks it up. Carlos is still in the living room explaining property taxes and HOA fees and utility costs. She barely hears him. She breaks the wax seal. Inside, a letter, dated the 30th of March 2024, 4 days before her grandmother died. The letter starts, "My dearest Emily, if you're reading this, it means you've discovered what I've been building for you. It means you've stood up to them. It means you've chosen yourself." Emily sits on the edge of the bed. The mattress is firm, new, like someone expected her to use it. The letter continues, "This house is yours, not because you earned it, not because you deserve it more than anyone else, but because I wanted you to have a place where nobody could find you if you needed to disappear, a place your parents don't know about, a place that exists outside their influence. I bought it during the pandemic when housing prices dropped, and I could pay cash without raising questions. I established the trust through a lawyer in Tempe, Nathan Kowalski at Desert Legal Group. Your parents have never heard his name. They don't know this property exists. Emily keeps reading. Her grandmother explains everything. How she chose Phoenix because it's far from Chicago. How she furnished the house with basics. How she set up utilities under the trust name. How she paid property taxes a year in advance. How she made sure every legal document was airtight. The letter ends. When they tell you you're being vindictive, remember this house. Remember that I planned for you to have an escape if you ever needed one. Use it or sell it or rent it. I don't care. It's yours. Completely, irrevocably, yours. Emily folds the letter, puts it back in the envelope, walks to the window. The desert stretches out forever, brown and gold and endless. She thinks about her grandmother buying this house during a pandemic. Alone, in secret, building an escape route Emily never asked for but apparently desperately needed. Carlos appears in the doorway. Everything okay? Yes. Emily's voice is steady, calm. Can you explain what happens if I want to keep it? Keep it as a residence or an investment? Both, maybe. He pulls up documents on his tablet. Property taxes are $6,100 annually. HOA fees are $890 per quarter. Current market value is approximately $1.2 million. If you wanted to rent it, comparable homes in this neighborhood go for $3,200 to $3,800 per month. Emily does the math in her head. She could rent it, cover the costs and have income left over, or she could keep it empty. A backup plan, a place to run if Chicago becomes unbearable, or she could sell it, add over $1 million to what her grandmother already left her, walk away from her family with enough money to never look back. I need time to think, she says. Of course. Take all the time you need. It's your property. Carlos hands her the keys. 3 of them on a ring with a small cactus charm. I'll email you all the documentation, trust papers, title, everything. He leaves. Emily hears his Lexus pull away. The house is silent. No traffic noise. No neighbors. Just wind and the distant sound of birds she doesn't recognize. She walks through every room again. Slower this time. Noticing details. The way sunlight hits the tile floors. The smell of sagebrush coming through the window screens, the feeling of space, of possibility, of freedom her grandmother built one secret at a time. In the kitchen, she finds a second envelope taped inside a cabinet above the stove. This one smaller, white. Her name on the front, but no message. Just Emily. Inside, a photograph. Her grandmother at maybe 40 years old, standing in front of a different house, somewhere with green grass and tall trees. Illinois probably. She's smiling. Really smiling. Not the careful smile Emily remembers from family dinners. A genuine one. Free. On the back, handwritten, Denver, 1989. The year I learned that starting over doesn't mean giving up. It means choosing yourself. Emily stares at the photo. Her grandmother had done this before. Left. Started over. Built something new somewhere nobody expected. And then she'd done it again. For Emily. Built an exit strategy disguised as real estate investment. She texts Daniel Hargrove, found the Phoenix property. There's more documentation. Sending photos. He responds immediately. Your grandmother was thorough, almost compulsive about it. She wanted you protected from every angle. Emily sends another text. They don't know about this house, right? Daniel. No. It's held in a separate trust. Different attorney. Different state. Even if they subpoena all her Illinois records, this won't appear. It's completely isolated from the estate they're contesting. Emily puts her phone down, walks out to the back patio. There's a small pool, covered, not used in years probably. Beyond it, the desert spreads out toward mountains that look purple in the afternoon light. She thinks about her parents sitting in Giordano's on July 18, their faces when she pulled out the bank ledger. The way her father's voice dropped when he said if you do this, you're out. The assumption that being cut off from them would devastate her. They don't know about the Phoenix house. They don't know about the Denver account with $890,000 her grandmother mentioned in the video. They don't know about half of what their mother built while they were busy calculating her net worth and planning her estate sale. Emily pulls out her phone again, opens the Notes app, starts a list. Phoenix house, keep or sell, decision by September 1. Denver account, transfer to high-yield savings, research financial advisors, Chicago condo, move in or rent out, decision by August 15. Uptown house, research property management companies, court date August 14. Prepare testimony, stay calm, let evidence speak. She adds one more item, call Nathan Kowalski. Thank him for helping Grandma protect me from people she loved but couldn't trust. The sun is setting, the sky turns orange and pink and purple, colors she never sees in Chicago. She sits on the patio edge and watches darkness come to the desert. Slow, inevitable, beautiful. Her phone buzzes. A text from an unknown number. This is Lauren. We need to talk. Emily deletes it. Doesn't block the number. Just deletes it. She's not angry anymore. Not hurt. Just clear. Her sister made choices. Her parents made choices. Her grandmother made different choices. Better ones. Quieter ones. Choices that looked like paranoia but were actually love. She locks up the house. Gets in her rental car. A silver Camry from Enterprise at Sky Harbor Airport. Drives back toward Phoenix thinking about irrevocable trusts and escape routes and women who plan for disaster while hoping for the best. That night, in a Holiday Inn Express near Scottsdale, she opens her laptop, writes an email to her 4th grade class. She's been gone a week, summer break technically, but she wants them to know she's thinking about them. She writes, "I'm in Arizona learning about my family. Sometimes the people who love us most show it in ways we don't expect. Sometimes protection looks like silence. Sometimes strength looks like secrets. Remember that when you're older and trying to understand why people do what they do." She doesn't send it, deletes it. Too much, too personal. But the act of writing it helps. She thinks about her grandmother standing in Denver in 1989, learning that starting over doesn't mean giving up, choosing herself. She thinks about a house on East Palm Lane with a copper mailbox and a trust nobody can break. She thinks about going home to Chicago, to court dates and confrontations and family members who'll call her cruel for holding them accountable. And she realizes something her grandmother knew all along. Home isn't always where you started. Sometimes it's where you finally stop running from who you really are. Sunlight spills across the Phoenix kitchen counter as Emily opens the envelope with trembling hands. The stationery is old, rose pattern, thin paper that crinkles when she unfolds it. Her grandmother's handwriting fills the page in blue fountain pen ink that's slightly smudged in places like she'd been crying when she wrote it. The date at the top reads the 14th of September 2023, 7 months before she died. The letter starts, "Emily, your parents always believed success meant control. I wanted you to learn something different, freedom." Emily sets the letter down, picks it up again, reads the first line 3 more times. The kitchen is quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and the distant sound of traffic on East Palm Lane. She keeps reading. "I know you're confused right now, maybe angry, maybe wondering why I didn't just tell you about all of this when I was alive. The truth is I was scared. Scared they'd pressure you. Scared they'd convince you I was manipulating you. Scared you'd choose them over yourself because that's what you've always done." Emily's throat tightens. She sits down at the kitchen table. The chair scrapes against tile. "Your parents came to see me for the last time on the 14th of February 2024, Valentine's Day. They brought flowers. Carnations from Jewel Osco. Still had the price tag on them. 12美元99美分. They sat in my living room and told me they were worried about my cognitive decline. They said I needed help managing my affairs. They had papers drawn up, a joint power of attorney. They just needed my signature. I asked them why they were really there. Your mother started crying. Your father got angry. He said I was being ungrateful, that they'd spent years taking care of me, that the least I could do was make their lives easier when I died. I told them to leave. They didn't speak to me again. Not once. Not on my birthday. Not when I fell in the driveway and broke my wrist on March 7. Not ever. And I realized something. Their love was always conditional, always transactional, always calculated, but yours never was." Emily wipes her eyes. The letter is blurring. She blinks hard, keeps reading. "You visited me on the 21st of March 2024. Do you remember? You brought me soup from Panera because I mentioned my wrist hurt too much to cook. You didn't ask about my will. You didn't suggest I needed help. You just sat with me and ate soup and told me about your 4th graders and how one of them finally learned to spell definitely without autocorrect. You had no idea I'd set up an irrevocable trust the week before. No idea I'd moved $3,105,000 into accounts you'd inherit. No idea I'd bought you a house in Phoenix, or kept records of every manipulation, or documented 8 years of their attempts to take what I was building for you. And that's exactly why I did it." Emily sets the letter down, stands up, walks to the window. The desert stretches out forever, mountains in the distance, sky so blue it hurts. She goes back to the table, picks up the letter. "There's more. I'm writing this because I want you to understand something. This inheritance isn't revenge. It's not punishment. It's protection. I structured it this way because I knew they'd try to take it. I knew they'd contest the will. I knew they'd claim I wasn't competent, or you manipulated me, or I didn't understand what I was doing. So I made it impossible to contest. Irrevocable trusts, multiple attorneys in multiple states, recorded conversations, documented evidence, every dollar accounted for, every decision witnessed and notarized. I didn't do this to hurt them. I did it to free you. The trust is managed through Vanguard Personal Advisor Services. Your account manager is Jennifer Rao in their Scottsdale office. She has instructions to help you set up everything. Diversified investments, tax-advantaged accounts, long-term growth strategy. You'll never have to worry about money again if you're careful. And you will be careful. You're the kind of person who saves gift cards and uses coupons and feels guilty buying yourself anything nice. But Emily, listen to me. This money isn't just for survival. It's for living. It's for the life you've been too afraid to build because you were always waiting for their approval, for their permission, for them to finally see you as worthy. You are worthy. You always were. I saw it when you were 7 years old winning spelling bees they didn't attend. I saw it when you chose teaching over law school because you actually cared about the work. I saw it every time you made yourself smaller so Lauren could shine brighter. I'm giving you this inheritance so you can finally stop shrinking. Emily's hands are shaking. The paper rattles. She sets it down flat on the table, smooths it with her palms. The letter continues. Your parents will tell you I've turned you against them. They'll say you're greedy, selfish, cruel. They'll tell everyone who'll listen that you manipulated a dying woman. Let them. People who know you will see through it. People who don't aren't worth your energy. Lauren will probably reach out eventually. She'll want to reconcile. Maybe she'll apologize. Maybe she'll just want information about the estate. Be careful. She's learned manipulation from experts, but she's also a victim of the same system that hurt you. The difference is she benefited from it so she never questioned it. Forgive her if you want, don't if you can't, but don't let guilt make that decision for you. Emily turns the page. There's one more paragraph. I'm leaving you 3 things. First, financial security. The trust holds stocks, bonds, real estate, and cash totaling just over $3 million. Second, legal protection. Every document is ironclad. Every decision is documented. They can't touch this. Third, and most important, I'm leaving you permission. Permission to stop performing for people who'll never applaud. Permission to build a life that looks nothing like what they expected. Permission to choose yourself without apology. You don't owe them explanations. You don't owe them access. You don't owe them anything. The only person you owe is yourself. And what you owe yourself is the truth. That you deserved better. That you deserved love. That wasn't conditional on compliance. That you deserved a family that protected you instead of diminishing you. I failed you in life. I watched them hurt you, and stayed silent because I didn't want to cause conflict. I let them make you feel small because confrontation scared me more than their cruelty. I can't fix that now, but I can give you the tools to build something better. Use them, please. The letter ends with, I love you. I'm proud of you. I'm sorry I didn't say it more when I could. Below that, her grandmother's signature, Margaret Ann Whitmore. The same signature from the trust documents and the property deeds and the account statements. The same signature that appeared on birthday cards and Christmas checks and notes tucked into care packages when Emily was in college. Emily folds the letter carefully, puts it back in the envelope, sits in the quiet kitchen, thinking about a woman who ran 3 miles every morning until she couldn't anymore, who kept secrets to keep her granddaughter safe, who chose silence in life but made sure her voice would be heard after death. She thinks about the wedding, the 18th of June 2024, her parents whispering about her apartment, while her phone buzzed with a message that would change everything. The humiliation of being seated at table 14, the assumption that she'd always be the lesser daughter, the invisible one, the disappointing one. She thinks about how that moment felt like an ending, but was actually a beginning. Standing in this kitchen in Phoenix, surrounded by desert and space and possibility, Emily finally understands. Her grandmother didn't just leave her money. She left her complete financial autonomy and legal protection, ensuring no one in the family could ever control her life again. The inheritance wasn't about wealth. It was about freedom. The freedom to say no. The freedom to walk away. The freedom to build a life on her own terms without needing their approval or fearing their rejection. She pulls out her phone, opens her email, finds the message from Jennifer Rao at Vanguard, responds, I'm ready to schedule a meeting. Let's talk about long-term strategy. Then she opens a new email, addresses it to her principal at the elementary school in Chicago, types, I'm resigning effective immediately. Thank you for 4 wonderful years. I need to focus on family matters and personal growth. I'll miss the kids. She hesitates, deletes personal growth, replaces it with building something new, sends it. The Phoenix house is quiet, peaceful, hers, completely, irrevocably, hers. She thinks about her grandmother's last line. I'm sorry I didn't say it more when I could. Emily understands that too. Sometimes love isn't loud. Sometimes it's a trust account opened in secret, a house bought during a pandemic, a letter written 7 months before death, explaining everything you were too scared to say in life. Sometimes love is giving someone the tools to save themselves and trusting they'll be brave enough to use them. Emily walks to the back patio, sits on the edge, watches the sun set over the Superstition Mountains. The sky turns orange and gold and purple. The air smells like creosote and dust, and something she can't name but recognizes as possibility. Tomorrow she'll call Jennifer Rao, set up investments, plan her future, figure out what freedom actually looks like when you've spent your whole life practicing captivity. But tonight, she sits in the quiet and thinks about a wedding reception where her parents made jokes about her tiny apartment while a probate attorney's text changed everything. That humiliation wasn't the end of her story. It was the moment everything quietly shifted in her favor. And her grandmother had planned it that way all along.